I tap my pen against the stack of tenant applications, squinting at credit scores and rental histories. My office at Harborline feels like a sanctuary on Sunday afternoons, quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and my own breathing. The 510 West Alder building has been my best investment yet, and reviewing potential tenants for the newly renovated third floor feels like adding the perfect final piece to a puzzle I've spent years assembling. My phone vibrates, Claire's name lighting up the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail. Sunday is sacred work time, but something about her calling twice in 5 minutes makes me answer. Julia? Thank God. Are you checking the family group chat? Claire's voice trembles. I muted it weeks ago. Why? You need to look. Now. Frowning, I open the chat and freeze. Photos of my family inside my building flood the screen, not visiting me, exploring it like new homeowners. My mother stands in the center of the penthouse, arms stretched wide. My brother Ryan measures wall dimensions in what's clearly the third floor, the same floor I'm currently finding tenants for. My sister Erin's children race through the second floor hallway. My stomach knots as I scroll through dozens of images. The final picture shows my mother holding up a champagne glass, her smile triumphant. The caption reads, "We've divided the property fairly among family." More messages follow, like body blows. Ryan's taking the third floor for his studio, perfect light. Erin gets second floor, great for the kids. Mom and Dad claiming penthouse. Obviously. Julia can keep her ground floor office, she's there all the time anyway. My hands tremble so violently I can barely hold the phone. My building. My $2.3 million investment. My years of work. They can't be serious, I whisper. Though no one is there to hear. They have no legal right. None. The screen blurs as I dial Evan, my property manager. How did they get access to the building? Miss Warren? Your mother showed me some Harborline paperwork. Evan's voice carries that particular strain of someone realizing they've made a terrible mistake. She said she was co-founder and had authorization. I didn't think. What paperwork exactly? My voice sounds distant to my own ears. An old LLC filing. It listed her as co-founder. The memory surfaces instantly, my mother co-signing an early business loan 8 years ago to help build my credit. The bank had required a co-signer since I was just starting out. I'd repaid that $15,000 with interest within 18 months, and removed her from all accounts with notarized documentation. That document is obsolete, Evan. I bought this building with my money 3 years ago. She has no authority here. I pace the length of my office, fragments of past conversations clicking into place. My mother's casual questions about the building's floor plan. Ryan asking about tenant leases. Their sudden interest in my business filings. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a calculated takeover. My fingers already dialing Michael Reeves, my attorney. I grab my keys and head for the elevator. Michael, I need you at 510 West Alder immediately. My family is attempting some kind of constructive possession of my building. Bring the updated corporate filings and property deeds. Next call, building security. This is Julia Warren. I need a team at the building now. There are unauthorized people claiming ownership. No one leaves until I arrive. The 10-minute drive feels eternal. Each traffic light another opportunity for my family to further stake their claim. As I park, I spot unfamiliar cars filling visitor spaces, aunts, uncles, cousins, all summoned for whatever this is. Deep breath, shoulders back. Walk in like you own the place because you do. The moment I push through the lobby doors, my mother's voice rings out. Oh, there you are. Come join the celebration. The scene before me is surreal. A banner stretches across my lobby. Warren Family Estate Planning Dinner. Relatives cluster in conversation groups, champagne flutes in hand. Someone I vaguely recognize as my uncle's accountant friend photographs rooms and takes notes. My $2.3 million investment, my reputation with investors, my future tenant relationships. All threatened by this bizarre family invasion. What exactly is happening here? I keep my voice steady despite the rage coursing through me. My mother approaches, arms outstretched as if for a hug I have no intention of giving. We're planning the family's future. Everyone's getting a piece of the Warren legacy. The Warren legacy? I repeat, ice threading through each word. You mean my building? The one I purchased with my own money? Now, Julia, my father interjects, don't be selfish. This is about family. Ryan saunters over, architectural magazine tucked under his arm. The third floor is perfect for my studio. Great natural light. I spot Claire standing apart from the others, arms crossed, relief visible on her face now that I've arrived. At least one ally in this madness. The elevator dings, and Michael steps out, leather portfolio tucked under his arm. The cavalry has arrived. Everyone, I announce, voice carrying across the lobby. Conversations halt. This celebration is over. This building belongs to Harborline Development, LLC, which is solely owned by me. My mother's smile doesn't falter. Don't be ridiculous, honey. I co-founded Harborline. It's as much mine as yours. That's legally incorrect. Michael steps forward, opening his portfolio. I have here the current corporate filings showing Julia Warren as sole owner of Harborline Development, LLC, along with the property deed for 510 West Alder showing the company as sole owner of this building. He turns to address my mother directly. What you're attempting could be construed as constructive possession, Mrs. Warren. It's not just inappropriate, it's potentially actionable. Security arrives, 4 uniformed officers filling the doorway. The atmosphere shifts instantly. Champagne glasses lower, smiles fade. My mother's face contorts, her voice wobbling with practiced vulnerability. You're choosing money over family? After everything we've done for you? I meet her gaze steadily. No, Mom. I'm choosing ownership. The security team begins the escort process. Relatives gather purses and jackets, stunned expressions replacing their earlier entitlement. My brother glares as he passes. My father won't meet my eyes. My mother pauses at the door. This isn't over, Julia. Family means sharing. This was never yours to share, I reply. I stand in the empty lobby long after they've gone, watching their cars pull away. Claire approaches, squeezing my arm gently. Thank you for calling. I tell her. They've been planning this for weeks, she admits. I couldn't stomach it anymore. Michael flips through his notes nearby. We should change the security codes immediately, and I'll prepare cease and desist letters for Monday. I nod, staring at the Warren family estate planning banner now drooping pathetically from one corner. This isn't some impulsive family drama. This was coordinated, planned. And it's only the beginning. I squint against the morning sun as the locksmith kneels before the main entrance, his tools spread across the lobby floor. 3 others work simultaneously on different floors, my morning orchestra of clicks and metal scrapes. Yesterday's family invasion left fingerprints everywhere, not just on champagne flutes but on my sense of security. Every lock in the building. I confirm, watching him nod without looking up. And I want digital keypad upgrades on the penthouse and my office. Evan hovers nearby, jacket creased from what was clearly a sleepless night, his usual confident posture replaced by a man expecting termination. Miss Warren, I've prepared a full report on how your mother gained access. He extends a manila folder, hand trembling slightly. I should have verified her claims more thoroughly. There's no excuse. I accept the folder but don't open it immediately. Walk me through exactly what happened. Evan swallows. She arrived Friday afternoon with Ryan, showed me copies of an old LLC certificate listing her as registered agent. Had an EIN letter with her name as the responsible party. His voice grows steadier as he recounts facts rather than his failure. She claimed you were restructuring Harborline's management team and needed measurements for a family office expansion. And you believed her. She had documentation, Miss Warren. And she's your mother. I never thought. That's the problem. I cut him off, finally opening the folder. None of us thought they'd go this far. Inside, Evan has meticulously documented everything, time-stamped building entry logs, copies of the documents Linda presented, even photographs of the planning session taken by security cameras. The family dinner wasn't spontaneous. It was the culmination of weeks of reconnaissance. My phone buzzes. Michael, Julia, I've emailed you the bank statements showing your repayment of your mother's $15,000 contribution from 8 years ago, plus the notarized letter removing her from Harborline's accounts. There's not a single legal thread connecting her to your company. I press the phone against my ear, pacing away from the locksmith's curious glance. They've been planning this for months, Michael. This wasn't some impulsive Sunday gathering. They targeted my most valuable asset deliberately. The documents prove it, he agrees. They timed this during your refinancing negotiations, when any ownership dispute could potentially derail the entire deal. Realization settles like concrete in my stomach. Every tenant in this building is now questioning who actually owns their rental space. My staff doesn't know who has authority. And if they're asking about 510 West Alder, they might be asking about your other properties too, Michael finishes. I'm contacting all 5 building managers this morning to alert them. The scope clarifies with brutal efficiency. This isn't about one building, it's about Harborline itself. 8 years of work, 5 properties, my entire professional identity. I always knew Mom minimized my achievements. I say quietly. But this goes beyond taking credit. She's trying to take everything. After ending the call, I find Claire's text waiting. They're asking about Hamilton Square. Mom told Uncle Dave she co-owns that property too. Hamilton Square, my second acquisition, purchased entirely with profits from the first. No family money, no family input, no family connection whatsoever. The locksmith rises, handing me a set of keys. All done, Miss Warren. New locks throughout the building. Only these keys and the codes you set will grant access. Thank you. I clutch the keys until the metal bites into my palm. Too late. I realize physical locks won't solve this. They've already breached something far more fundamental. Back in my office, I spread the documents across my desk. Bank statements, notarized removal letter, property deeds. Each page represents a boundary I thought was clear. Each signature a declaration of independence I believed was understood. 8 years ago, when I started Harborline, my mother's $15,000 was framed as a family contribution. I insisted on repaying it with interest, sensing even then the invisible strings attached. The repayment check cleared. The notarized removal letter was signed. I have the receipts. But receipts don't matter if they're claiming the entire ledger. This isn't just about a building. It's about control. I review emails from investors now questioning Harborline's ownership structure. A text from my banker mentions family concerns about the refinancing. My property manager at Westlake Avenue reports a call from Ryan asking about the family's rental income. The magnitude of their betrayal unfolds document by document. They've reached into every corner of my professional world, questioning my legitimacy in the eyes of people whose trust I've spent years earning. I think back to dinner conversations where Linda patted my hand after business accomplishments. That's too much responsibility for you, dear. The statement wasn't concern, it was a worldview. In her mind, I've never been a businesswoman, just a daughter playing with property until the real adults stepped in. Somewhere across town, my family regroups after yesterday's humiliation. I can picture them clearly, Ryan pacing, face flushed with the same anger he's carried since childhood when things didn't go his way. She had us thrown out by security. Her own family. Aaron would be next, always the instigator while maintaining plausible deniability. Mom, you need to fight for what's yours. Julia's success came from your support. You deserve recognition. And my mother, center stage as always, would nod with practiced righteousness. I'm not asking for just the building. Harborline itself was built on my guidance. She owes everything to this family. Their motives crystallize in my mind. Not cartoonish greed, but something more dangerous, genuine belief in their entitlement. They've convinced themselves they deserve part of what I've built, making them formidable in their moral certainty. Ryan's studio has been failing for years, his paintings collecting dust instead of buyers. He needs space, expensive space without the burden of rent. Erin's children attend mediocre schools while she posts aspirational photos of private education on social media. And Linda's retirement planning consists entirely of what she believes others owe her. The doorbell interrupts my thoughts. Michael stands there, additional folders tucked under his arm, expression grim but determined. I brought the corporate filings from the Secretary of State's office, he says, setting them beside the other documents. And Evan sent over the security reports, documenting every instance your family accessed the building in the past month. It's more frequent than we initially thought. My phone buzzes with another text from Claire. Mom's already talking to people about what happened yesterday, spinning it as you choosing business over family loyalty. Be prepared. Michael notices my expression. What is it? They're starting a public perception battle. If they can't take the building by force, they'll try pressure from every direction. He nods, spreading the documents methodically. Then we prepare for every direction. I've documented the entire history of Harborline's founding, growth, and your mother's limited early involvement. We'll be ready for whatever comes next. For the first time since yesterday's invasion, determination replaces disbelief. This is no longer just about defending what's mine, it's about exposing their manipulation for what it truly is. They think they're entitled to my life's work, I say, sorting the papers into organized stacks. Let's show them exactly how wrong they are. I stare at my phone as another notification chimes. For days now, I've silenced it, but curiosity finally wins. My thumb hovers over the screen before I tap to open the post. Linda Warren's profile picture smiles back at me, her public status update already collecting sympathetic comments. Heartbroken that my daughter cut me out of the company we built together. A mother's love shouldn't be repaid with lawyers and security guards. My chest tightens as I scroll further. Ryan has uploaded video from their Sunday dinner invasion, carefully edited to show them laughing together, measuring rooms with tape measures. His caption reads, "When family forgets who helped them start." The comments section overflows with support people I've never met, condemning me for betraying my own blood. This isn't random, I mutter, setting my phone down to pace my office. The timing is too perfect. These posts appeared exactly as I entered final negotiations with Westlake investors on 2 potential acquisitions. 3 separate tenants have called asking if Harborline is having ownership problems. My own business contacts are starting to ask uncomfortable questions. The local business blog, one I've been featured in twice before, has republished snippets of Linda's claims with the headline, "Property Developer and Family Feud." My reputation, built over years of meticulous work and careful relationship building, now threatened by family weaponizing sentimentality. I check the timestamp on Ryan's post, uploaded during my investor meeting yesterday. Not coincidence. Strategy. My phone buzzes again. 4 missed calls from current tenants. 2 emails from potential investors requesting clarification on ownership structure. This isn't just an emotional attack, it's a coordinated strike against my business. I dial Michael's number. "Have you seen what they're posting?" "I was about to call you," he answers. This crosses into potential defamation territory. "They're timing these posts to coincide with my investor meetings," I say, voice tight with controlled fury. "They're deliberately sabotaging Harborline." "We have options." Michael's voice carries the measured calm that first made me hire him. "We can send cease and desist letters to the family, the blog, and any social platforms spreading demonstrably false information." "Will that make it worse? Draw more attention?" I ask, sitting back at my desk. "The question is, whether you want to fight this publicly or handle it privately," Michael says. Hoping it fades away isn't working. These posts are gathering traction. I pull up the browser tab showing the business blog, reading comments from people speculating about Harborline's future. My future. Years of building credibility reduced to gossip fodder. I need to address this directly, I decide. If we stay silent, their story becomes the only story. I agree. I'll start drafting defamation notices, Michael says. Meanwhile, prepare a comprehensive statement with those timestamped filings and repayment confirmations we discussed. I spend the afternoon assembling a digital dossier, scanned deposit slips, showing the $15,000 repayment with interest, notarized corporate filings, removing Linda from Harborline 8 years ago, property deeds showing my sole ownership. Not emotional appeals, but documented facts. While Michael prepares legal notices, I craft a measured statement addressing the claims point by point. Not as a daughter defending against a mother, but as a business owner correcting misstatements about her company. The notices have been sent. Michael calls the next morning. To the blog, to the social pages where the claims appeared, and directly to your family members. I watch my computer screen refresh. The business blog post vanishes, first replaced with a standard removal notice. Then Ryan's video disappears from his profile. Linda's post remains longest, but by afternoon, it too vanishes. I lean back in my chair, a small smile forming. Not victory, not yet, but the satisfaction of watching false claims collapse against documented truth. They've gone quiet for now. I tell Michael during our follow-up call, but this won't be the end. No, he agrees, but we've established something important. You won't be a passive target. The immediate crisis contained, I turn to repairing potential reputation damage. A forensic accountant reviews Harborline's financial history, certifying that every acquisition, including 510 West Alder, came solely from business profits, after Linda's removal from the company. The report circulates privately among key partners and investors, not as gossip but as professional transparency. Questions about Harborline's ownership structure fade as quickly as they appeared. A week after the social media attack, I accept an invitation to appear on Capital Corner, a finance podcast popular in local business circles. The host asks about entrepreneurship, and I speak candidly about boundaries. Building a business requires clear documentation. I explain, especially when family is involved initially. Every transition should be recorded, every separation formalized. Clarity protects everyone. Without mentioning the recent drama directly, the message resonates. 3 investor meetings rescheduled after the posts now proceed without hesitation. Tenants who called with concerns renew their leases. Evan stops by my office with the building's monthly maintenance report. The renewal rate is holding steady, he says. People aren't buying into whatever story was circulating. Thank you for staying steady through this, I tell him. Documentation beats accusations, he replies with a slight smile. The building's records are clear. Anyone who matters can see that. That evening, I review the leasing projections for the quarter. Despite the family's coordinated attack, Harborline remains on target. The business community, presented with facts rather than emotional appeals, largely backs documentation over vague claims of betrayal. My phone pings with a text message. Claire. She's meeting with a new attorney tomorrow, Richard Hanley. I recognize the name immediately. Hanley specializes in family business disputes. This isn't over, it's escalating. I stand at my office window, looking down at the street below. The question forms clearly in my mind. Do I wait to see their next move, or should I take preemptive action now? Either way, I won't be caught unprepared again. I spread the last document across the conference room table, completing a tapestry of financial statements, corporate filings, and legal paperwork. 3 days after my social media victory, and I've pivoted from reactive defense to methodical preparation. They're building a case? I tell Michael, who sits opposite me surrounded by his own fortress of legal papers. Let's anticipate every possible angle. The afternoon sun slants through the blinds, casting prison bar shadows across 8 years of Harborline history. I've spent the morning pulling files from storage, excavating evidence of my ownership like an archaeologist unearthing proof of an ancient civilization. What claims could they reasonably make? Michael asks, his pen poised above his yellow legal pad. I tap a document showing Linda's name on an early bank form. They'll say she was integral to founding Harborline. They'll conveniently forget I repaid that $15,000 with interest. My voice remains clinical, detached. The white-hot anger from the building intrusion has cooled into something harder, more focused. What evidence might they fabricate? I continue, addressing the question like I would a hostile takeover attempt by any business competitor, because that's what this is, not a family misunderstanding but a calculated appropriation strategy. Michael nods, understanding my approach. They might produce emails or conversations where you allegedly promised family ownership. Exactly. I slide forward an email printout where I had once written to my mother. Couldn't have started Harborline without you. Context matters. I was thanking her for babysitting a neighbor's child while I attended a critical meeting. But isolated, those words could be weaponized. The conference room feels like a war room now. My earlier public victory provided temporary satisfaction, but I recognize it for what it was, a skirmish, not the war. We need to document everything. I say, opening my laptop. Every interaction Linda ever had with Harborline. Every time she was explicitly removed from documentation. Every witness who can verify my sole ownership. Michael pulls out a timeline he's been constructing. I've started assembling evidence of your exclusive control. What about the original loan paperwork? Crute. I extract a folder from the bottom of my stack. Inside, the initial $15,000 loan agreement with Linda's signature, followed by repayment records, and most critically, the notarized letter removing her from all Harborline accounts 8 years ago. She signed this, I say, sliding the release across the table, acknowledging full repayment and removal from the company. For hours, we work with cold precision, cataloging every document that establishes my ownership timeline. Each page represents another brick in the defensive wall I'm building. I provide Michael with a complete chronology of Linda's involvement from that initial co-signed loan to her official removal from all paperwork, years before I purchased 510 West Alder. We should coordinate with your forensic accountant, Michael suggests, organizing documents into labeled folders. Have him trace the ownership trail for all assets. I nod, already typing an email. I want verification that every property acquisition occurred after Linda's removal from the company. This isn't confrontational action, it's preparation work. The social media counterstrike bought me breathing room, but I recognize the pattern forming. My family isn't retreating, they're regrouping. The security footage, from their intrusion, I say, pausing over my keyboard, I want it preserved and analyzed. Note everyone present, what areas they accessed, any documents they photographed. Michael raises an eyebrow. You're expecting this to escalate beyond social media? I'm preparing for every scenario. I pull up the building's security system on my laptop, bookmarking footage from the family dinner invasion. If they're willing to orchestrate a physical takeover attempt and then a public smear campaign, legal action isn't far behind. My phone buzzes with a text. Claire, Mom meeting with Richard Hanley tomorrow, 2 p.m. My stomach tightens. Richard Hanley, a name well known in business circles for handling family business disputes. Not just any attorney, but one who specializes in contested ownership claims. They're talking to Richard Hanley. I tell Michael, keeping my voice steady despite the spike of alarm. Tomorrow afternoon. Michael's expression darkens. That's significant escalation. Hanley doesn't take cases without merit or deep pockets. They're preparing for formal legal action. The realization lands like a physical blow. This isn't just about rumors or social pressure anymore. They're building an actual case. If they file a lawsuit, Michael warns, they could potentially freeze business operations during litigation. I stare at the text, my mother's strategy suddenly clearer. She's more calculating than I initially assumed. The social media campaign wasn't just emotional retaliation, it was groundwork for something bigger. If they want a legal battle, I say, straightening the documents before me, we'll be more than prepared. 3 weeks into this battle, and my office has transformed into a war room. Binders of documentation line my desk in neat rows, color-coded tabs marking different eras of Harborline's history. The penthouse space where my mother once proclaimed ownership now serves as our strategy center. Michael works across from me, his meticulous notes spread between us. This corporate history documentation is comprehensive, Michael says, tapping a thick folder. Every filing since inception, chronologically organized. I nod, sliding another binder forward. I've gathered testimonials from every business partner who's worked with me independently. 23 statements confirming I was the sole decision-maker in all Harborline operations. The preparation has been exhaustive, a full court press against whatever my family might throw at us. After the social media skirmish, I recognized this wasn't just about one building. This was about control of everything I'd built. What about the loan repayment records? I ask. Michael lifts a slim folder. Bank statements, canceled checks, and the notarized letter removing Linda from Harborline's accounts 8 years ago. All authenticated. For 3 weeks, we've assembled this fortress of documentation. No victories yet, just careful positioning for the larger battle I know is coming. We're building towards something much bigger than our social media win. We need to be ready for anything they throw at us, I say, scanning the evidence of my life's work. Michael straightens his tie a habit when he's preparing to deliver unwelcome news. Julia, we need to discuss worst-case scenarios. If they've found an attorney willing to take this case, then we'll be prepared. I finish for him. That's what this is all about. The knock at my door is soft but urgent. Claire stands in the doorway, her face pale. It came, she says, extending a thick manila envelope. I was meeting Mom for lunch when the courier arrived. The return address bears an unfamiliar law office, Richard Hanley, attorney at law. My fingers feel numb as I slide the document from its envelope. The heading hits me like a physical blow. Linda Warren, Ryan Warren, and Aaron Warren. V. Harborline Development LLC. My family members listed as plaintiffs, my company as defendant. Black and white proof that my mother, brother, and sister have declared legal war. I need a minute, I whisper. Michael and Claire step outside, giving me space as I scan the lawsuit. My heart pounds against my ribs as I read their claim. implied partnership and ownership interest in the entirety of Harborline Development LLC. Not just the Alder building. Everything. When Michael returns, I'm already pulling additional files from cabinets. We need to accelerate our timeline. I tell him, voice steadier than I feel. They found an attorney willing to take this. That changes things. Michael reviews the complaint, his expression darkening as he flips through their exhibits. They've done their homework, he admits. Their exhibits appear legitimate on the surface. I scan their evidence list. The original Harborline filing, naming Linda as registered agent, an EIN letter listing her as responsible party, bank transfer records showing $15,000 marked family contribution, screenshots from their family dinner, labeled as a Harborline management meeting, and an old email where I'd written, "Couldn't have started Harborline without you." Words of gratitude twisted into evidence of ownership. We have the amendment filing from 2 years later, I remind him, and proof the $15,000 was repaid with interest. My phone rings an unknown number. Michael gestures for me to put it on speaker. Miss Warren? This is Judge Thornton's clerk. We've received an emergency filing from Richard Hanley regarding Harborline Development. I catch Michael's eye as the clerk continues. Mr. Hanley has filed for a preliminary injunction to preserve company assets. He argues Harborline is refinancing and transferring property belonging to all founding members. The air leaves my lungs as she delivers the final blow. Judge Thornton has issued a temporary administrative hold on Harborline's Alder operating account pending review. The hearing is scheduled for next Thursday at 9 a.m. After she hangs up, the silence feels suffocating. It's just procedural, Michael assures me. A week at most. But it halts the refinancing deal, I finish. The one that would have funded the Monroe Street acquisition. My phone begins buzzing with notifications. Investors asking questions. Vendors seeking clarification. The damage is already spreading beyond the courtroom. It's temporary, Michael says, but it gives their story weight. People will wonder if there's truth to it. I turn to the window, watching pedestrians passing below, unaware that my life's work hangs in the balance. All our preparation now needs adaptation for immediate response. Then, we'll crush the illusion with facts? I say, turning back to face him. All of it. Every document, every witness statement, every bank record, we'll bring it all. The administrative hold is just a procedural speed bump, but the implications reach further. This isn't just about defending what's mine anymore. It's about proving who I am. My family has made their move. Now I'll make mine. On Monday next week, I watch the local news with a knot in my stomach as the anchor's voice fills my darkened office. Co-founder sues daughter over multi-million-dollar portfolio. The Warren family feud escalated today when Linda Warren filed suit against her daughter Julia, claiming ownership rights to Harborline Development LLC. My phone vibrates with another call from the regional bank, their third today. I silence it, adding it to the growing list of fires I'll need to extinguish. The temporary administrative hold has morphed into something far more dangerous, our primary credit line now paused pending resolution. Vendors have been calling hourly, demanding clarification about Harborline's ownership structure. 3 potential tenants have backed out of lease negotiations. The dominoes are falling exactly as Richard Hanley planned. This isn't just about 510 West Alder anymore. They're after everything, the entire company I've built over the past decade. Every property. Every investment. My entire future. I flip channels and there she is, my mother, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue during an interview with Channel 4's Evening News. I only wanted what was fair, she says, voice trembling. I helped my daughter start this company. We were supposed to build it together. And then she just pushed me out. The reporter nods sympathetically. And now you're fighting to reclaim what you believe is rightfully yours? Any mother would do the same, she answers. I snap off the television, hurling the remote across the room. It clatters against the wall, batteries scattering across the hardwood floor. The office feels cavernous at night. Blueprint tubes lean against walls like silent sentinels. Filing cabinets stand guard over years of meticulous documentation. This place used to feel like sanctuary. Now it feels like a fortress under siege. I move to the window, pressing my forehead against cool glass. 8 floors below, traffic lights change in empty intersections. The city sleeps while my life unravels. A memory surfaces sitting at our kitchen table years ago, I couldn't have been more than 26. My mother stood behind me, guiding my hand as I filled out my first LLC paperwork. "We'll build something together," she'd said, squeezing my shoulders. I'd thought she meant support. Encouragement. The kind of faith mothers are supposed to have in their daughters. I never imagined she meant literal ownership, that someday she'd claim rights to everything I'd built. This was never about family connection, it was about control. And Richard Hanley, that shrewd, calculating shark, is using every legal maneuver to give their lies temporary traction. The administrative hold was just the beginning. Now he's pushing for a complete freeze on operations pending ownership review. If the judge grants it, Harborline could collapse before we ever see a courtroom. My phone lights up. Michael's name flashes on screen. "Tell me you have something," I answer. "We're expanding the legal team," Michael says, his voice steady and focused. 3 more attorneys specializing in ownership disputes, and I'm preparing an emergency motion to dismiss with prejudice. Good. What else? Your forensic accountant finished his reconstruction. Every property acquisition occurred after your mother was removed from Harborline. Not a single dollar can be traced to her contribution. I straighten, energy surging through my exhaustion. That's exactly what we need. And the transparency campaign? Ready whenever you authorize it. What Boundaries Build is prepped to launch across all channels within 2 hours of your go-ahead. I've spent the last 3 weeks digging through archives, searching for the documentation that would end this nightmare. Most people would have given up. Instead, I found something that changes everything. Michael, I found it. Found what? The certified amendment from the Secretary of State. The one that officially removed Linda from Harborline ownership. It was filed 2 years before the Alder purchase. Silence hangs between us for 3 heartbeats. "You're certain?" he finally asks. "Completely. The date stamp is clear, September 18th, 2 full years before I bought Alder. It undermines their entire case. This changes our approach. We can file for immediate dismissal." I pace the length of my office, mind racing through scenarios, weighing options with the clarity that comes from knowing you're right. They've made their public move. Now we make ours. "I'll have the team work through the night," Michael says. "We'll have everything ready for morning filing." Good. And Michael, I want all of it. Every document, every amendment, every wire confirmation. I want the judge to see exactly what they're trying to do. I hang up just as another call comes through. Claire. "Julia, I need to tell you something," she says without preamble. "I was on a family call tonight. They didn't know I was still on the line after everyone said goodbye." "What happened?" "I heard Mom talking to Richard Hanley," she said, and I'm quoting exactly. "We just need to pressure her. She'll settle before trial rather than risk her reputation." My fingers tighten around the phone. "You're sure those were her exact words?" I took notes, word for word. "She's not planning to win in court, Julia. She's counting on you folding under pressure." "Did you record the call?" "No, that would be illegal. But I have my written notes and the text messages afterward, where they discussed the strategy. All legally obtained." The final piece clicks into place. This isn't just about greed or entitlement. This is deliberate coercion. "Can you send those notes to Michael?" "Already did. He says they're admissible." I stare at the city lights, something hardening inside me. Not anger anymore, determination. Cold, clear purpose. "Thank you, Claire, for everything." "They're wrong, Julia. About all of it." After we hang up, I call Michael back. "I'm authorizing everything," I tell him. "File the motion to dismiss. Launch the transparency campaign. All of it." "You understand what this means?" Michael asks carefully. "Once we do this, there's no settlement option. It's all-out legal warfare. They're family." I think about the word family, how it's supposed to mean protection, support, safety. How mine has twisted it into a weapon. "They stopped being family the moment they tried to take what's mine," I say. "They chose this battlefield. Now they'll face the consequences." "The judge will see through their scheme," Michael assures me. "The documentation is bulletproof." "There's one more thing I need to know," I say. "Are you sure you want to fight this publicly? Once we launch the campaign, everything will be exposed." I turn away from the window, facing my reflection in the darkened glass. The woman looking back at me isn't the same one who stood shocked in her lobby watching family members measure her rooms. She's stronger, sharper, ready. I've already been tried in public, I tell him. Now they'll see the evidence. As I hang up, I know there's no turning back. Tomorrow morning, Michael files our motion to dismiss. Tomorrow afternoon, what boundaries build goes public, with every document, every fact, every receipt that proves my sole ownership. Let them come. I've built my fortress not with bricks, but with something far stronger, the truth documented in black and white. And unlike family loyalty, paper doesn't lie. On Thursday that week, I step into the courthouse, heartbeat thrumming in my ears. Reporters cluster outside like vultures, camera flashes exploding against the stone facade. The marble floors gleam under fluorescent lights as I follow Michael through security, past wooden benches filled with strangers whose lives hang in similar balance. Remember, Michael murmurs, let the evidence speak, no matter what they say. The courtroom door swings open. My mother sits at the plaintiff's table, a tissue clutched in her hand. She's wearing a pale blue cardigan I recognize from childhood Sundays, the one she saves for church and funerals. Ryan slouches beside her, uncharacteristically subdued in a borrowed suit. Richard Hanley arranges papers with practiced efficiency, not bothering to look up as we enter. Our footsteps echo against wood paneling as we take our places. The room smells of furniture, polish, and desperation. I catch Claire's eye from the gallery, her slight nod giving me courage as the bailiff calls the court to order. Judge enters, his gaze sweeping the room before settling on the stack of motions before him. Warren versus Harborline Development, he announces, voice carrying the weight of 40 years on the bench. I've reviewed the filings. Let's proceed. Richard Hanley rises first, straightening his tie with manicured fingers. Your Honor, this case is fundamentally about a daughter erasing her mother from a family business they built together. He strides toward Linda, placing his hand on her shoulder. Mrs. Warren helped found Harborline Development. She provided capital, guidance, and her name to establish her daughter's company. Linda raises her head, tears glistening. She pulls the EIN letter from her purse, holding it like a holy relic. I just wanted to help my family, she says, voice trembling. To create something we could all share. The performance is flawless. I've seen variations of it my entire life. At parent-teacher conferences when I got awards, at dinner parties when describing my first property purchase. Linda Warren, the selfless mother who made everything possible. The documentation shows, Hanley continues, that Mrs. Warren was listed as a responsible party on the original EIN application. She contributed $15,000 to capitalize the business. She was, by any reasonable definition, a co-founder whose interests have been systematically erased. Michael rises, his movements measured against Hanley's theatrical flourishes. Your Honor, if I may. He opens his leather portfolio, the same one he carried when we confronted my family in the lobby weeks ago. The plaintiff's entire case rests on outdated documents and deliberate misrepresentations. He places the amended operating agreement on the projector. The timestamp glows on screen. 8 years ago, notarized, filed with the Secretary of State. This amendment, properly executed and filed, removed Linda Warren from any ownership role in Harborline Development. It was signed by all parties, including Mrs. Warren herself. My mother flinches, but recovers quickly. I didn't understand what I was signing. Then perhaps you'll understand this, Michael counters, producing another document. A release of guarantee, acknowledging receipt of $15,000 plus interest, releasing you from all obligations related to Harborline Development. He places the document on the projector. My mother's signature stands bold against white paper, undeniable. Your Honor. Michael continues, the plaintiff claims ownership interest in properties acquired by Harborline, including 510 West Alder. However, our forensic accountant has prepared this timeline. The projection shifts to a detailed spreadsheet. Every property in Harborline's portfolio, including 510 West Alder, was acquired years after Linda Warren was removed from the company. These acquisitions were funded entirely by Harborline's business profits, with no contribution from the plaintiff. Judge Williamson leans forward, studying the documentation with narrowed eyes. Furthermore, Michael says, we have evidence suggesting this lawsuit is not a good faith effort to resolve ownership disputes, but rather a pressure tactic designed to force a settlement. He produces Claire's transcript, bound in a blue folder. This is a written record of conversations between the plaintiffs, documented by a family member present during their planning sessions. The judge accepts the folder, reading silently. His expression darkens with each page turned. "Mrs. Warren," he says finally, looking up at my mother, "did you state that your goal was to pressure Julia into settling before trial?" Linda's mouth opens, closes. For perhaps the first time in her life, she has no ready performance. "Your Honor," Hanley interjects, family discussions taken out of context. "I asked Mrs. Warren," judge interrupts, voice cold. "We just wanted what's fair," my mother manages. "And this," Michael says, playing the final card, "is security footage from 510 West Alder, showing the plaintiffs measuring rooms, assigning spaces, and planning renovations without any legal right to the property." The video plays, unmistakable. My family dividing my building like conquered territory. Ryan measuring the third floor with a laser tool. Aaron's children running through hallways. My mother raising a champagne glass in the penthouse. Judge watches without expression. When the footage ends, the silence hangs thick as summer humidity. "Mrs. Warren," he says finally, "you admitted your goal was to pressure your daughter into settlement. That's coercion, not partnership." He closes the folder with finality. This court finds no merit whatsoever in the plaintiff's claims. The case is dismissed with prejudice. My breath catches. Dismissed with prejudice, cannot be refiled. Furthermore, the judge continues, the court awards Harborline Development $13,400 in attorney's fees to be paid by the plaintiffs within 90 days. Linda's face drains of color. Ryan's jaw tightens. I remain perfectly still, hands folded on the table before me. Additionally, this court grants a civil injunction prohibiting Linda Warren, Ryan Warren, and Aaron Warren from making further false claims against Harborline Development, or its properties, and from harassing or interfering with its business operations in any way. Judge rises. We're adjourned. The gavel strikes with the sound of finality. Outside, reporters swarm like summer insects, microphones thrust toward my face. Questions overlap into unintelligible noise. I walk past them, chin lifted, neither smiling nor scowling, professional, dignified. As we reach the courthouse steps, I hear footsteps behind us. Richard Hanley approaches, his expression unreadable. "Well played," he says simply, before turning back toward the building where my family remains, stunned by the completeness of their defeat. 3 months later, I'm reviewing expansion plans for a property in the West District when Claire calls. "Have you heard?" she asks without preamble. "Heard what?" Aunt Linda received notice of an IRS audit. Apparently someone filed income declarations during the lawsuit that don't match her previous returns. I allow myself a small smile. How unfortunate. "Ryan's moving to Portland next week," Claire continues. "And Aaron's influencer business lost 3 major sponsors after the court documents became public record." I trace my finger along blueprints for the West District property. "And Linda?" "Hasn't been seen at the country club in weeks. Canceled her standing lunch reservation at Meridian. Dad says she's talking about visiting cousins in Florida for an extended stay." After we hang up, I walk through the 5th-floor conference room of 510 West Alder, the penthouse my mother had claimed for herself. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city my family thought they could take from me. Michael joins me, setting his briefcase on the conference table. "The refinancing came through. You're clear to move forward with the West District acquisition. The documentation strategy worked perfectly," he adds, smiling slightly. "Exactly as we planned." I nod, thinking of Claire's loyalty, Michael's methodical approach, the security team's immediate response that first day. We had good people. Below, pedestrians move along sidewalks, each pursuing their own ambitions, fighting their own battles, none of them knowing that within these walls, a siege has ended and a victor emerged. Not the victim my family tried to create, but something far more powerful, a woman who chose ownership. I sign the last document with a flourish and slide the stack across the polished conference table to Michael. 6 months after the court victory, Harborline's refinancing is complete, the very deal my family tried to block. The lender even offered better terms than initially proposed. "How's it feel to close this chapter?" Michael asks, tucking the paperwork into his briefcase. "Like I can finally breathe again." I stand and walk to the window overlooking downtown. Spring sunlight glints off the glass towers, including 2 new Harborline acquisitions. Who knew a family crisis would end up strengthening the entire business? Michael laughs. That's what I admire about you, Julia. Most people would have been destroyed by what your family attempted. You turned it into an opportunity. The words catch me off guard. 6 months ago, I sat in my office feeling ambushed and violated. Now investors call weekly, impressed by how I handled the crisis. 3 commercial property groups have approached me about partnerships. The business community that witnessed my family's public attack now respects me even more for my strategic response. I never wanted this fight, I admit, but it made me stronger. Back at the office, I find Evan reviewing security footage, one of our new protocols. After my family manipulated him with outdated paperwork, we implemented comprehensive verification procedures. Every Harborline property now requires biometric access for sensitive areas. Document authentication systems flag expired filings. These safeguards protect not just against my family but against any similar attempt. Miss Warren, Evan says, standing as I enter. The new security team at Westlake Plaza completed their training. All access codes updated. I nod. Good. And please, after everything we've been through, just call me Julia. The tenant applications on my desk remind me of that Sunday 6 months ago. I review credit reports with none of the anxiety that once shadowed this task. No jumping when my phone rings. No second-guessing my right to make decisions about my own properties. Later that afternoon, I meet with my new legal team, not just Michael, but 3 additional attorneys on permanent retainer. The court victory taught me that proper legal representation isn't an expense, it's an investment. Together we've created airtight ownership documentation for every Harborline property. Never again will anyone question what's mine. After work, I drive to 510 West Alder, the building that started everything. Once just another property in my portfolio, now Harborline's headquarters. I park underground and take the elevator to the lobby. Claire waits by the reception desk, smiling when she sees me. After standing with me against our family, she joined Harborline as communications director. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, actions do. Ready for the unveiling? She asks. Workers finish mounting a bronze plaque beside the elevator. I run my fingers over the inscription, "Boundaries build empires." It's perfect, I tell her. Claire links her arm through mine as we head to the conference room where the first board meeting of the Harborline Women in Property Fund is about to begin. 8 women architects, developers, contractors gather around the table. Women who've faced their own versions of what I endured. My newest venture will provide mentorship, connections, and seed funding for women entering real estate development. Ladies, I begin. Welcome to the start of something extraordinary. The meeting stretches into evening. Plans for 5 mentor-mentee partnerships, a development competition for young women in architecture school, a formal complaint system for documenting discriminatory lending practices, the kind of work that transforms an industry, not just a company. After everyone leaves, I stand alone in my office. The lights of the city twinkle below. 3 years ago, I purchased this building. 6 months ago, I fought to keep it. Today, it's the foundation of something far bigger than I'd imagined. My phone buzzes. A message from my assistant. Hand-delivered letter arrived. Left on your desk per protocol. I spot the cream envelope immediately. Mother's handwriting. The same flowing script that once signed school permission slips and birthday cards. 6 months ago, a letter from her would have sent me spiraling, rushing to open it, desperate to understand, hoping for reconciliation. Now I pick it up, note the single line visible through the thin paper. I only wanted to be remembered. I fold it once and lock it in the office safe, unopened. Some letters don't need reading. Some explanations come too late. I walk through the sunlit halls of the Alder building, pausing by a window overlooking the street. Below, new tenants laugh as they unlock the door to their office space. They mistook silence for guilt and paperwork for decoration. But ownership lives in the details, and I kept every one. Tomorrow, I'll review plans for Harborline's next acquisition. The business my family tried to claim continues to grow without them. The documentation they attempted to manipulate now serves as a template for other women establishing their own boundaries. I return to my desk where blueprints for a new property await. In my office. In my building. In the empire I built.